Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the next part of the Bang project, where last time we started getting some of the leg detailed out. We kind of, quote unquote, finished the abs. We have the back kind of going. And this time, we're going to do a little something different this time. We're going to have a little bit of an, we're going to do a little bit of a lesson going into this one. Because I made some mistakes before, and I think rather than just kind of iron things out, which I was going to do off camera, I actually kind of did off camera, I did kind of iron some of the details out so at least they're smoother. Rather than do what has to be done, I want to explain A, what's wrong on here, and B, almost more importantly, how did I get some of these areas wrong that need to be fixed. And then we're going to go ahead and fix the kind of the ab area here and some of the back stuff. Now, first thing is easy. This muscle that kind of comes down here is 100% wrong. That actually starts on the other end of the arm, kind of the other side of the armpit, and comes down. So a lot of this part is going to get hidden. That muscle comes down there and then goes up. So that's easy. That's an easy one to fix. More importantly, these abs once more are incorrect. And that was more of a function of the last two segments I did was right together, right kind of back to back, or practically back to back. Where typically when I go into a session, I will pre-plan what I want to do before these sessions start, so that I'm actually on camera, I can just execute. So because I kind of did the last two back to back, I never gave myself the time to look at what I was doing in here, evaluate, and possibly change what I had to change, what needed to be changed. So before I start going into how to fix things, what's wrong with it? So if we look at Bang on the side, you can see he has the arched back. He's kind of leaning, his lower back's kind of leaning out. His top is leaning forward. He has this kind of, I'm making the gesture in my chair like you can see it. I'm bad. But it's kind of like an arch shape in it, which if you're looking from 3/4 view on here, like this again, you have front view, side view, 3/4 view. You can still, between the chest and coming down, it seems like it has like the leg going up in arch. Front, you can't see anything. I think the legs are probably just, their hips are a little bit wide on the side. That doesn't really matter. But if you look at the side, and I'm going to bring you up just so you don't see the shadow, there is zero arch going on. So side view, it is straight down, and that is it. And that's I think the basis of a lot of the problems I've been having with the chest here, or the abs, the muscles going on in here. That and all of this is twice as big as it needs to be because I got the muscle wrong. All right. So why did I make that mistake? Because I didn't have time to go over and look at things, I resorted to what's called iconography. Iconography is kind of your default setting when dealing with something new. And if I push you back, and to give you an idea of what that is and how that's not helpful, we're going to show you some of the worst drawings I can possibly do. Because, well, again, I haven't drawn things in... I can draw stuff, I can kind of copy, and I can look at stuff, but I have nothing in front of me, we're just going over. So what do I mean by iconography is going to be the bane of something like that. So let's say you have a very anime looking face right there. You have a nose, you have the mouth, let's say you have big old ears on the side, you have the hair kind of coming down, whatever. And you want to draw eyes on this figure, this very handsome looking man right here. So what you're likely going to do is go up, and there are your eyes. So standard, it's kind of one swoosh, done. That's an eyeball. So your eyeball for this probably looks something like that. So now you say I want to draw a side view of the same person. Again, if you have a limited time to do this, or if you've never drawn anything in your life and you don't know how to do anything, so we're going to start off, we come in, we're going to pretend like we don't know how to draw anything. So we have the nose comes out, it comes down, get the lips come out, chin, forehead goes actually way up because the eye's supposed to be in the middle. Alright, so we're just going to ignore the fact that this looks entirely wrong, but there's side of a head. Again, you have a little happy mouth on there, and you want to draw an eye on this guy. So again, if you're playing a game like Pictionary or something, where you have just a minute to draw whatever thing you need to do. If you're a child, you don't know how to draw, you've never drawn before. If you're an adult, you don't know how to draw, you've never drawn anything before, and you say, okay, draw an eye on this person. What you're likely going to wind up doing is going back to the side and drawing that. And you're going to say, wow, that doesn't look right. I don't know how to do it. Some things don't feel good. Because what you just drew was the exact same thing. It's the exact same shape for both here and here. Because your mind defaults to what it thinks an eye looks like, and it translates it then into the drawing you're in, rather than actually observing, say, another person or another picture or something. You just draw what you think an eye looks like, and you transpose it onto your image. And then you wonder why your image doesn't look right. Now again, we do this all the time. The brain tries to simplify things all the time. It's just the way we're kind of wired to operate, to get information out as expediently as possible. So what that means, when I came back to here, and I didn't have time to look it over in the end, was I was saying, okay, I've done the clothing before, I've done scarves before, I've done the boots, I've done gauntlets, I've done a lot of the elements on him. The one element I have never done before has been actually having to do a kind of a muscular kind of core area. So this is brand new to me, and I didn't give myself time to evaluate. So what I did was I just made abs, and I made them straight down in profile, when in reality he's hunched over. I need to suck his stomach in a little bit and come back out. So the stomach here comes in, and that's going to change the shape of the core. So just like as you transpose an eye from kind of the plan view to the profile view, I just transplanted what I thought a core looks like onto an element that wasn't a straight whoosh down person. And I think that is becoming a number of the issues I have just looking at this, and it just doesn't feel right. I mean, it's not terrible. In the end, we're going to have fabric coming down here. You're not going to see, well, you are going to see a decent chunk of it, but it's not going to be the main focus like it is right now, because that's the only detailed area on here. But in order to fix this, I'm at least going to do what I can in this section to fix it. I think anything else I'll probably do off camera, just in the interest of, we've now been dealing with the back and the front. This will be the third session of that, and it's going to be time to move on. So I'm going to do what I can right now to touch it up, and then we'll go and actually alter it, or kind of finish smoothing things out and whatnot afterwards. So let's give a nice quick one more time over this, because it's about to disappear. Because, yeah, it's wrong. It is wrong. So we need to suck his stomach in and then bring it back out. So we gotta take the whole knife to this area and just say goodbye. And as long as we don't carve deep enough to see any of the wireframe whatnot inside, we're going to be a little better. And this will also, when we go in this view, kind of, yeah, the stomach comes in and you have the rib cage sticks out. It's going to make the side view read more correct. Everything here is going to start reading more correctly. Now, at the same time, his hips are coming up a little wide, so we can bring the hips down a little bit. And all in all, we're just kind of skinnying up his waist here. And then once we kind of get the stomach area a little more correct, then we can transpose the actual finished musculature on top of that. But yeah, you got to get the foundation right before you can put the details on. If there's anything I've learned in my day job, you never mess with the foundation. Again, if you have a deadline, got to get things done, got to go, 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 go. We may need to come back and finish painting something at some point. We may need to come back and touch up some spackle spots, or maybe pop a couple pieces of trim on. We will never, 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 never short a foundation. We will have the foundation in, we will have the walls up correctly, we will have the sheetrock and stuff up correctly, we will have, everything will be structured. It's just, yeah, we might need to come back for details. So here, I just didn't make a clear foundation, and already this is starting to feel a little better. Because again, under the rib cage is still going to be stuck out, which is kind of where this first piece here is still kind of right at the top of the rib cage, and now under that, our abs are actually going to start. Let's take just a little bit more off of this. So that is my educational lesson for the day. And I didn't actually come with anything else to discuss during the session, so we're just going to make things up as we go. Which is good, because I'm only, like 15 minutes in. And I've already discussed what I was planning on discussing. So, good start. Okay, so if we're going to come down, we still need the line to come down the middle. That still stays there. That doesn't change. So it's kind of widening just a little bit. So I'm going to do this, then I'm going to come back and fix all that. I got to fix one thing at a time. Gotta fix one thing at a time. And if there's anything I did learn from, like I said, I smoothed out some of these things before, even though I knew I was going to cut them right out again afterwards. But I have hardened things on here. That's not good. Oh, it's probably from every now and then I get glue on this thing. And then it sticks stuff to it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we have you and you. I was very bad at smoothing stuff out on camera on this last time. So we're going to improve upon that. Or rather, we're probably going to be very bad at smoothing out on camera again. Only now I'm a little more ready for that. And then I'm definitely going to be smoothing stuff kind of after. So what do we have? So we have that's in there. This next one actually comes down a little bit so that we have almost a little bit of a void between this and the next. And we're going to have kind of the same thing here. As you now kind of come down, and then you kind of come down and in. Again, I am a runner slash obstacle course person. I have a running physique, I should say runner slash biker slash cyclist. Because when I do the obstacle stuff, I still don't really do the upper body work I'm supposed to, or I theoretically should be doing for that. So, because really the ones I do are like the bigger distance type events where there's plenty of time, there's plenty of trail running and stuff between obstacles to kind of recover from. But anyway, muscle structure is not my forte. I don't look at myself and go, "Ooh, wow, look at that." Even though every now and again I have really good, like I said, I have good forearms. I do kind of have some of this going on, even though I completely missed the muscle structure, only because I carry things off kilter all the time from carrying boards and whatnot at work. I'm used to kind of not being or having a load evenly distributed, so I need to put more. But either way, I'm not generally looking for this stuff in here. I don't have much experience with any of this anatomy kind of stuff. It's not what I look for in anything at all. So I'm not used to observing this, working with this, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. So there is that little bit of play going on just because of that. But let's see, let's actually bring you in just a little bit more. Because actually we're going to carve out, but then I'm going to be adding muscle back on top of it again. So to help accommodate that, let's start a little bit more in there, and then we can build it back after. The arm in the way, it makes it really hard to cut things. But then after this section is done, then I think we're generally going to be moving on to kind of the, I might just need to put the collarbone on here, even though the scarf is going to hide the collarbone, so you're not really going to see that. But I can fit this in a little better, even if it's not sharp. Okay, smooth you out. Gonna wait for the camera to zoom in a little bit. Come on, focus. We can see if we get in the right angle, he finally feels a little more correct. On the side now, he feels more correct. When we go this way, we're gonna have more of that kind of swoosh going. So I think overall, this should help. Should. I may have just messed everything up. And that's, again, part of the game. That's part of what art is. You go back and forth as part of what kind of any of these types of projects is going to, it's going to be expected of any of these projects. Or things aren't always going to go correctly. You will make assumptions over time, depending on the situation. Like I said, in this case, I didn't give myself enough time to think about what I was doing. Because again, usually these are all pre-planned in advance of coming down here to actually do the work. All right, so one more time. This is going to come up, down. We want you to come in. We have you going up, down. We want you to kind of come down. Now again, I don't need to do the whole bottom area, because what's going to happen? Because realistically, the belt is going to be down here, so anything here and below, we're not going to see. So we're not going that much more detailed down in certain areas. Might help if I make this, I don't know, at least pretend to try to make this symmetrical. Might be good. So he has the big up top, he has those, and then that's kind of where the belt takes over, is at the bottom edge of this. So I don't really need to go any further down than that. So at this point we now have the 2D drawing, so it's time to smooth it out and make it a little more 3D. And actually, to do that, we're going to do the same as last time. We're going to add the muscle on top. And then This, I thought I'd done halfway decently before on the last session. Then when I went to actually kind of smooth things out afterwards, I realized I had done a really, really bad job of smoothing stuff out. So this might be the same. It may, on camera, I think it looked fine. I don't think you're going to be screaming at your screen at this portion saying, no, it looks bad. But at the same time, I will have to come in and re-smooth this after this part. I will guarantee I will not get this thing 100% smooth right now. And that needed a little bit more. What time are we at right now? Okay, we're a little over 20 minutes. That's not too bad. I got the lesson in that I wanted to, because, again, stuff like that happens. That's part of being human. The brain isn't always wired to observe things correctly. We just take shortcuts, and that's an unfortunate reality. But at the same time, again, I had said before at the very first the episode, right up the start, I've done a lot of things in my time. Like I said, I have done national competitions or national science competitions back in like high school. I have actually, under the old school rules for the Spartan races, the obstacle course races, I have qualified for a world championship ultramarathon distance one, even though I wasn't able to complete the event due to it being canceled the week before due to a forest fire, which occurred about 10 miles from the site. But that's a different story I can get into at another point in time. But I have been an advisor for a number of years for a community service group. Like I said, I'm a builder right now. I actually started during the Great Recession. Hey, that's a fun time to start building if you remember your history lesson back in the mid to late 2000s. That was probably not the time to start in the home remodeling profession, but made that work then. So I have done a number of these things, and there are a number of ideas that kind of keep presenting themselves over and over and over that I use to either prepare for or have learned to transpose between different disciplines that I do. And one of those is just never stop observing. I was best to say always observing, not just never stop observing stuff. Always keep learning. Like in this instance, I made a mistake. Don't just say, oh, I made a mistake, I'm going to fix it. I say, I'm going to make a mistake. Why did I make that mistake? And after you identify why you make the mistake, now you can go ahead and fix it. Because that's going to help keep you from either making the same mistake sometime again in the future, or if you do make the mistake again in the future, it's going to be easier to identify what happened. So in this case, it's just, removing myself from the project for a little bit. Actually, it's now the next day. I've had time to look at it, evaluate, come back and say, oh, that was it. So that's one of those big ones, is always observe, never stop learning, keep going over. That way, when something does go wrong, you're better able to understand what is happening and why. And once you understand what's happening and why, then you can come and start fixing things. Because no matter how you try to fix something without fully identifying the problem, you're bound to run into the problem again, or you just won't solve the problem in the first place, which is sometimes even worse. Actually, a lot of times it feels like it's worse, especially when you're on a job that a very nice client is paying you to do. It's good to fix things correctly, or else word gets around and you will never be hired again. Or they won't spread your name to somebody else, or they may not call you back later. So being able to identify what's happening and why is kind of one of those super valuable life skills that I think is really important to understand and know. Now, I could go into some of the other, I guess, topics that kind of go back and forth from one discipline to another, to another, to another. Being observant is definitely one of those. Is definitely one of the never stopping learning, always observing. That's probably the biggest of all of them. Is just always be learning. It's so important to just never stop. Okay, we're looking. Let's see. Stop at the navel down there. Okay, we need to. Yeah, the next big one is always having your goal setting, your goal ideas. What do you want to accomplish from any given thing, any given point? And now this will change from discipline to discipline in terms of this. If I were to bring it back into goal setting, into the modeling portion here, I'm going to have by the first hardening, by the second, I'm going to have multiple hardenings. I'm not going to harden this whole thing at once. It's going to have multiple hardening sessions. So by the first hardening session, I have somewhere I want to be. By the next hardening session, I have somewhere I want to be. By the third hardening session, I have somewhere I want to be. And then from that, like I said, for the first hardening, I want this core area completely done, and I want these boots on. Everything else, the arms, that's as far as the arms need to go right now. Upper legs here, doesn't matter. They get pants putting on afterwards, so none of this matters. Scarf stuff, don't care. The shirt, jacket, whatever that's called thing is, doesn't matter. Like the head and all that, doesn't. I don't need those. For the first hardening, my goal is just get those areas done. And now, as I said, for today, in order to accomplish this, my goal for the day is just to fix the ab stuff. My goal next time might be put the foot on. The goal time after that might be start working on the boot. Goal after that might be working on the other boot. And we're going to keep, each time I go in, I'm going to have a separate kind of goal set up and ready to go for this. If I'm doing my ultra marathon stuff, like I said, I'm training for a 31-mile race with 16,000 feet of climbing, which if you're not sure how to visualize what that is, that's go up and down a roughly 55-story building in a mile. And now do that for 31 straight miles. That is what I'm training for, while doing about 60 or 70 obstacles in the middle, like either monkey bars, sandbag, like 60 pound like sandbag carry, barbed wire crawl, stuff like that. So that is what I'm training for. And so to get there, I gave myself 5 months to prepare for it. We're getting near the end of month 2. So my goal for April to prepare for this was just getting a routine down. Nothing had to be far, nothing had fast. I hadn't been doing anything for much of February and March fitness-wise. So I just needed to get a routine kind of in the books. Get myself used to going out like every day or every other day to do something. And that was it. So now May came around, and May has a different goal. So a goal for this month was to turn, I think it was like a 5-mile run or whatever is my longest last month. So my goal now is, well, it's either do a 10, it's going to be like do like a 10, anywhere from 10 miles to half marathon distance run. It's going to be pump out the distance. So yesterday or 2 days ago, I went and did a 9.5-mile run or 9.25-mile run. So that got me in range. Next weekend's going to be a little shorter. Then the weekend after, I'm going to pump out probably like a half marathon distance. Either going to be a half marathon or a 40-mile bike ride. We're going to see what weather depends on. In my mind, 3 miles of biking equals 1 mile of running. So if I can do a 40-mile bike ride, that's going to be equivalent of, roughly a half marathon distance run. So if it gets stupid hot, I'm going to do that. If it's a little cooler and whatnot, if I can still run, I still will. But again, that's me getting goals set up to accomplish. And then July, or June is mostly just kind of start adding more strength kind of activities into the mix. Whereas right now everything's been fitness, everything's kind of been heart rate based, or this month is basically heart rate based. I'm doing all my workouts are based off the heart rate. So I want to get my circulatory system working so that next month I'm going to start building muscle. Why don't I build muscle sooner and do it concurrently? Because I have a history with that. I have a very bad history of doing too much to get ready for these races, and then I wind up kind of hurting myself the month before and kind of pulling muscles. Usually it's my arms and my deltoids. I kind of pull something I shouldn't, and then I never go into the races 100%. So in this example, I'm putting off my strength training stuff like an extra month or two and give myself less time for strength training so that I don't get to the point where I injure myself before the race. At this point, less will actually be more. And I'm okay with that. All right, I'm starting to feel better about this now than I was before. It's feeling a little more correct. So I'll finish smoothing this out off camera. It needs, again, I'm super nearsighted. If I can get like this within like 6 inches of my face, I will see this thing looks terrible. So next, we got to fix the muscle back here because that ain't right. Yeah, so I had goal setting on that. If I were to go back to say the Science Olympiad days, or my science days in high school, where I did Science Olympiad, that was my. Eventually, I made the team after failing for 3 years to make the team. I eventually did make it. I tried like crazy in 7th grade to make it, failed. I tried like crazy in 8th grade to make it, failed. I gave up at 9th grade and didn't even try. And then 10th grade came around, and the coach stopped me in the hallway in between classes one day and said, well, we need you on the team. You have information that the other guys don't. We need you this year. So essentially, the way our school was set up was the typical science program in our school was 9th grade was earth science, 10th grade was biology, 11th was chemistry, and 12th was physics. But if you wanted to go on the AP track, you would skip earth science, you would take biology, chemistry, physics, and then take your AP course off of that. And again, we had figure if you're going to have somebody representing your school on the science team, they are going to be your top science students. So everybody basically skipped earth science. So I just happened to be in the right place at the right time on that one and wound up getting in because I was the top earth science student that year. And competition at states was getting a lot tighter. So I kind of got in because of that. But anyway, when it came to the geology events they had there, the rocks and minerals, it was just kind of starting out. I had to, again, you have to set a goal on how was I going to deal with, let's say, the rocks and minerals one as the example. There was also meteorology, there was also glaciation. There was more to it more than just that one event. But for this argument, we're going to look at that. So I said, okay, we're going to set the first goal saying we need to be able to identify a sample of something that's in front of us. So you could be given a mineral. It could be like a mica, it could be a galena, it could be sulfur, it could be feldspar, it could be who knows what. It could be any type of thing they have out there. So you need to be able to identify it. So first thing you want to do is figure out, okay, if I don't learn everything, my first goal is going to be to learn the material necessary to be able to correctly identify these samples. Because I can tell you, because knowing what these things are used for, knowing where you mine these things, knowing a number of other things, they don't matter unless you can first identify them. So primary goal was just be able to identify this stuff. And then once I'm able to identify the samples, then after that our goal can change and we can now go, okay, now that I have this, Now that I have this knowledge, now I can do the next goal becomes saying, okay, now we're going to look at what's the chemical formula? How is this thing used? How are these things used? Where are they mined? And we go into the next stage of things. So the first thing you need to do, yeah, is take the information you have, prioritize, make your goals, and then if you miss the stretch goal, you miss your stretch goal, but at least you have an idea in mind of where you want to be at any given point in time. And that helps. This still isn't looking right. I'm going to... If I were smart, I'd actually have an image in front of me of what I'm supposed to be looking at. But as you can tell this time, there's my recording software. I have no other computer with me this time, so I'm actually just doing all this 100% off the memory of other images I've looked at. So, yep. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah, so once you have all your goals set down, the next one comes down to you need to make your routine. Like I said, I already touched on that with the sports one that I'm doing right now. Is on the monthly basis. I have what I want to get done on. Actually, I really haven't done the sports. My routine, like I said before, was April was to build a quote unquote routine, and that was the routine itself was just get used to doing fitness activities, and that was really it. So now going forward, I'm generally structuring days. So I have 4 main cardio days per week. Usually it's probably going to be in an ideal week, it would be like a Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday is probably like a mid-distance kind of easy run. Thursday might be just a hair shorter, but I'm going to start throwing some like speed elements or whatnot into it. And then usually either a Saturday or Sunday, one of the 2 days is going to be long distance hills, trail runs, big bike ride. It's going to be like the longer multi-hour kind of fitness event or fitness cardio exercise, whoever it's going to go on that. And the other day is going to be more like a recovery run, like nice, easy, kind of lollygagging, kind of low heart rate jog. And I'm coming back to the modeling routine I'm going to have for that is I'm looking at, I would like to have 5 sessions per week of doing this. And to do that, if I'm running, say, on Tuesday and Thursday, that means Monday and Friday will probably be 2 after work kind of modeling sessions. Because after workout, what I've realized is I really don't want to come down and do this. So it's how life is. And then if I have a big workout, say on Saturday, then Sunday I'm going to go and crank out maybe 3 of these sessions. Or if I plan on it, if the weather says otherwise, then I'm going to have, or if weather's going to be the opposite, I may crank out like 3 sessions on Saturday, and then have my big workout on Sunday. Or I can do a session of this before I do the big workout on the other day, so it's not all kind of stacked into one day and that's it. But that's effectively the schedule I have on that. And the reason you want to schedule is because if you try to base everything off of if I'm feeling motivated to do something, odds are you're not. After a while, motivation will fade over time. You might go, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then you kind of peter out. That's generally how I work if I'm going just by motivation. Usually I'm a cold weather person for fitness stuff. I went to school in upstate New York. I went to college in upstate New York. So I'm used to cold weather. So when I try to schedule my races, I try to schedule them so my most competitive ones are going to be in the spring. This year just didn't turn out that way because the one event I would like to do is at the end of summer. But when I'm training for these spring ones, that means I'm actually training like, say, after Thanksgiving, like Christmas, New Year's, January, February. I get back from work. It's like 20 degrees outside. The wind might be blowing. It's cold out there. The last thing you want to do is just open the door and walk outside and do a workout. It's miserable sometimes. And so if I were to rely 100% on just how I feel at a given point in time to accomplish that, it's not gonna work. So having a schedule and just saying, okay, I'm going to do this at this time, and that's just what it's going to be, is so helpful towards getting over that hump that it makes it possible. So just saying, all right, I'm going to. So if at the start of the week I plan out that like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to do this, this, this on those days, it's just going to be that way. It makes it a whole lot more possible, a whole lot more likely that I'm going to hit the goals that I want to, because I'm more likely to actually do them at that time than if I were to just say, do I feel good today? Do I not feel good today? It's like, no, once it's set in there, you're set to go and that's it. And it makes life a lot easier. So as I'm going off of 3 big things that really transcend any medium you want to go for, whether it's the artwork, whether it's music, whether it's academia, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever, is never stop learning. Never stop learning, never stop observing. Always be cognizant of what's going on around you. It's so, so important to just keep your eyes open. Don't assume you know everything. Don't assume what's happening is no, just always kind of be observant. Figure out when something doesn't go wrong. Don't just fix it. Just figure out what led to something going wrong in the first place. It's so important for that to be able to better yourself by doing that. The next is set your goals. You're going to want those goals. They don't need to be grand things. Again, the things I've done tended to have worked out really well in the past, and I've found myself in a number of positions that I know a number of other people may not be able to. So your goals can reflect whatever skill level you're at, and that's fine. There's zero problem with having more kind of laid back goals. My goals for these tend to be pretty laid back. I do have a set standard I try to go from, but I also see things that other people can do online, and compared to others, I'm still kind of a rookie-ish at this. But no, never stop learning, set your goals, and once you have your goals, just get the routine going, because it's going to take time to get those goals accomplished. They're not going to happen right away. So be prepared to spend some time on it, set your routine so that you're kind of on autopilot, or a little more on autopilot going in. Some days you're going to really want to go and do something, some days you won't. But again, you have your routine, you're more likely to go and actually put the work in that you need to accomplish what you want, which in the end is going to lead to a happier place. I am feeling a little better about this. I am feeling a little better. This down here is not correct. I'm going to need to re-look at how this side works out, I think, before I go too much further on that. Because I still don't think that's necessarily correct. But this feels much better. And what else do we had from that? Next one that is nice to kind of get. I'm just trying to take a quick look at this. So you're always observing, you're setting your goals, you're setting the routine. The one other major one that's not as easy to accomplish when kind of as a cross-disciplinary objective is you try to stay relaxed as much as you can during whatever it is you're doing. Because when you're in a relaxed mind state, it makes life a whole lot easier. If you're trying to do a fitness activity, relaxed versus stressed, what's going to happen if you're stressed is your muscles going to get tighter. It's going to be harder you're not going to be able to say be as active as you want because your muscles and stuff are tighter than they otherwise should be. And it's just going to make accomplishing what you want harder the tighter you get. So it's good to be kind of relaxed, loose, have fun when doing it. I know if you're doing your like I said, I did the academic tests and whatnot and the science competitions, trying to stay loose and relaxed both during the learning phase of everything, when I was learning the material, helped the mind absorb the information better. I actually created a whole routine based on essentially creating a relaxed mindset, which then carried through college. And I can do an entire separate, if you want a separate lesson figure on that, if you're into kind of academic stuff for how to memorize a large quantity of data in a very short amount of time, or if you want any kind of additional insight on that, let me know. I can make a separate video kind of geared towards what I did for the Science Olympiad stuff, because there were some definite lessons. I had created an entire study session, entire study and kind of rubric on how to memorize a large quantity of data in a short amount of time. And it was actually fairly effective for me. And there are tips and techniques that are specific to that I could provide if you're interested. So if that's something you want, just let me know, and I can maybe put something together from there. I had shortly kind of after the Science Olympiad event, I did actually write out the list of everything that happened, so I do have a rubric made up for that, but I could always, it would be easy to actually just make a quick video of that. It's not going to be like an hour-long video, God no. It can be much shorter and to the point, but maybe that would be something you would want. But suffice it to say, one of the keys to that was constantly creating a situation for myself in which I was able to put my mind at ease whenever I wanted to, so that I could absorb the information better. And again, for the test taking side of it, not just the learning, but also the test taking side as well, how to stay more focused and relaxed during the testing phase as well. So there are two ends of that one, and I can go at length into both. I'm just not going to do it. Don't need to do it on this. Again, when relaxed helps on making these things too, because like last time, I was doing essentially 2 sessions back to back on something I'd never had to deal with before, so there's a little bit of stress out. I may or may not show it on video all the time, but no, there's a little bit of stress involved in terms of hoping things work out, hoping I can show a quality product in the end, hoping it all goes well. And that's where the mistakes happen. So it's just what it is. So goal for that then is, try to keep this as relaxed as possible. I try to break these up into multiple. I don't try to do sessions that are longer than I'm able to actually do to provide the quality that I want in the end. I can do, if I were to do this, I can do like 3, 4, 5 hour sessions. That wouldn't be an issue. But to get the quality that I want to in the end, these 1 hour sessions is about as long as I want to go on any given individual attempt, any kind of individual session. Now at work, it's completely different. I can do my day job stuff. I can do that, the entire workday. That's fine. Most of those things, it's a decent chunk of pre-planning at the start of kind of any either day or project, depending whether it's a full start of like a home remodeling project or whether it's start of making this like a bookcase. You do all your pre-planning, you're making like a staircase or whatever session you're doing. You kind of do your little pre-planning at the start, but most of that is just doing phase. And when you're just in the doing, I can do those. Here, the scale is a lot smaller. It's a lot more kind of focused. Every little tiny thing has a little more meaning to it. So it takes almost a little more mental energy to do this than my day job. So this gets almost more exhausting than lugging around like 2x8s and 2x10s at work. It's just what it is. But yeah, how are we doing on time? We're there on time. I think we're going to end a little bit sooner than I usually do. I think I'm just going to basically call it around this point. I'm going to come back, reevaluate how all this stuff looks in the end. I'm probably going to do a lot of the touch-ups on this off camera, just so that next time when we go, we're going to be starting on something fresh. Because now we've been looking at detailing out the back and detailing out the front here for, generally speaking, the last 3 sessions. So I think it's time we move on to the next. So I'm hoping it's going to be just mostly little touch-ups. If it winds up being something bigger than little touch, like another kind of major change, then I'll figure it out off camera and I'll do it real quick on. But I think if we're just kind of evening things out, smoothing things over, I think even if it's just like, say, moving some of these muscles up, down, or whatever, just kind of figuring that out, I think I can do that off camera, and it's not going to negatively affect what I want out of this. The goal of these videos is to show how long things take to do, and kind of that things don't all come quickly at any given point. There is a process involved, and at this point, at least for this section, I believe you have seen that process. And that said, as I said before, my goal was the 3 sessions on a weekend, 2 on the weekdays, one on a Monday, one on a Friday. Well, this is the Monday session. So this is being done on actually Memorial Day right now. So it's the 26th. So in theory, if I don't do another one tonight, it's probably going to be Friday till I go again. So I'm going to have plenty of time to do little tweaks and touch-ups and really kind of look this once over before the next session starts. And I think that might be to my benefit this time, just so I can get this one area that I'm not used to working with correct. So that if we get back to this again in the future, this should be a whole lot easier to do, because I'll now have in my mental repertoire how to get it done. But anyway, that is a lot of talking. And yeah, that's where we stand right now. It looks not much different, but this side view looks a decent chunk better, I think, than it did before. But in any event, that's where we are right now. That's where we're going in the future. And this has been part 6, I believe, of the Bank Project. So until next time, enjoy.